Hello and welcome to LSE Focus. It is post-match reaction showtime after Liverpool have won in the Premier League yet again. This time it was Jose Mourinho's Tottenham who were put to the sword. Our first game at Tottenham's shiny new stadium ends in another win. 3 more points for Liverpool in this seemingly unstoppable procession towards that elusive 19th Premier League title. I think it's fair to say that Liverpool weren't necessarily at their best today. I think Spurs did a fairly decent job of stifling us. That kind of Mourinho performance that all of us kind of expected from him did materialise in the end. I think the way they set up, it felt similar to that game in 2014 against Chelsea, his Chelsea side, where, you know, they were depleted in terms of squad. They weren't at their best, but they were very well drilled. They were built around trying to stop the opposition rather than really trying to create anything going forward. And I thought they did that reasonably well. I felt quite bad for that Tanganga fella because I think generally he had a really, really good game. It was a really, really solid debut from him. I think it was a decent call from Mourinho to play him. But unfortunately for him, it's his tiny little mistake that Liverpool capitalise on and get the goal. Of course, Roberto Firmino just checking back outside onto his weaker foot. You know, hard to blame the defender really, because at the end of the day, you're forcing someone onto their weaker foot, which is about as the only thing you can do in that kind of situation, and then just hope they go the same way as you, because then at least you can get a blocking or something like that. Unfortunately for him, Firmino ends up going the other way. It's a really, really good finish from him as well. I think before that, he'd missed a couple chances. He'd looked slightly shaky. He didn't quite look like he was at his best in terms of finishing, but when it mattered, he just puts his boot through it, gives the goalie absolutely no chance. It's a wonderful, wonderful goal, and Liverpool see things out reasonably well there. I don't think it was like the Champions League final against Spurs, where basically once we went 1-0 up, that was just game over. They had absolutely no chance. I know they had shots and stuff like that, but it always felt like Liverpool were in control of the game there. Today, it didn't really feel like anyone was in control of the game, and if I'm being perfectly honest, was actually kind of boring at times. You know, Liverpool saw an awful amount of the ball, but it wasn't in the same way where I look back to our home game against Spurs earlier on the season, where it was just an endless barrage. You know, we were creating a clear-cut chance basically every 5 minutes, and every other minute we were creating half chances and stuff like that. It was absolutely bonkers. It was just an endless onslaught, but we just couldn't find our way around Spurs today, and I think some of that is maybe down to the fact that these players haven't played for something like 9 or 10 days. I think it is, of course, with the Merseyside derby last weekend, the last time pretty much any of these players kicked a ball in a first team professional context was that game against Sheffield United last Thursday. So maybe it's no surprise that they're a little bit iffy. This really kind of looked like the performance we see off the back of the international break, or when we've been knocked out of the FA Cup and it's FA Cup weekend and they go away to a warm weather training camp or something like that. In a way, it's no surprise, and I'm not worried as a result, because I think we'll probably see a much sharper performance next weekend because the team will have found a little bit more rhythm. But I think what's the most important thing is that Liverpool got over the line again. Liverpool did the business, as they always do, despite the fact that I don't think any player was really at their best today, apart from maybe Alisson Becker, who once again picks up another clean sheet. He is just, you know, they're coming like buses at the moment. You wait all season for one, and then 5 or 6 come at once. I've lost count already of how many he's accumulated, but it's just impossible to get past him at the moment. And I was going to say get past his Liverpool defence as well, but we looked kind of leaky today, and we needed Alisson Becker. We had to call upon him, and he made some really, really big saves. The way he saves it as well, these aren't Hollywood saves, tipping it around the post or parrying it back into the danger zone. Every single time, he's like a black hole, you know, wearing that all black kit as well. He just sucks the ball in and it just disappears into his arms as he falls over it yet again. He's a goalie that makes you feel so safe, and that is what you want from your keeper. You want the trust that when things don't go right for you defensively, and that happened at times today. I think our defence did switch off occasionally, certainly thinking about like that Lo Celso chance at the end. I'm thinking, as much as I think maybe Spurs might be better off in certain situations without Harry Kane, because I think sometimes they played better as a team without him, if he'd been on the pitch and had that chance, it probably would have been 1-1. I think we would have been looking at a draw, because he probably finishes that chance. Fortunately for us, he puts it wide, and that happened to Spurs quite a lot today, and I was talking to my friends about it while we were watching it. It's that kind of thing of, because we have Alisson Becker, because he's so good in goal, opposition players force themselves into trying these ridiculous shots where they are going for like the top corner and the postage stamp and top bins and stuff like that. Whereas if we had Karius in goal, they wouldn't be doing that. They'd just be aiming for a fairly decent finish and then backing that it will probably get past the goalkeeper. They're forced into trying these ridiculous things that rarely come off, because they know that is the only way to beat Alisson Becker. And I thought once again he was fantastic today for Liverpool, and probably the only player who brought his, 100% A game. I thought Trent Alexander-Arnold was good as well. Maybe not so much going forward, forward, but defensively, he was reasonably astute. I think it's the one thing that we're still waiting on from Alexander-Arnold. Of course, he's only 21 years old, I think it is, which is absolutely mad. And the way he plays for his age is fantastic. But I think there's one thing that we're all expecting to come as he progresses a little bit more, as he matures as a footballer and gets more experience. And that is the defensive side of his game. He's obviously a natural going forward. He puts so much work into it. Tactically, he's very astute, and he's got the natural ability as well with the crosses and stuff like that. But defensively, it looks like he still just needs to make mistakes, essentially, to get better. But I thought today he rarely put a foot wrong. I thought he was very, very solid. The midfield as well, I think, was a little bit iffy, to be perfectly honest. I think Jordan Henderson didn't quite have his best game, although he still had some good moments as well. You know, he has that moment where he sets up Van Dijk. Obviously, Van Dijk ends up being offside and doesn't score anyway, so it doesn't come to anything. But it's a really, really nice and smart cross. And then, of course, he puts his head on the line with that header. There's no way it's a handball. You know, you can try and make some sort of VAR controversy out of it, and I'm sure they will, because that's just what happens in football punditry at the moment. But if you ask me, you know, absolutely no chance that goal would have been ruled out. So it's just a very good move from Jordan Henderson to stick his head on the line, put it in, and that eventually, of course, leads to that Roberto Firmino goal that wins it for Liverpool and gets us another 3 points. And I think at the end of the day, what happened was Liverpool weren't necessarily that much better than Spurs. I think on the balance of it, we probably deserved to win, although I think they were well drilled. We weren't quite at our best, and they did cause us problems when our defence lapsed towards the end of the game as well. But I think what you just saw today was the fact that Liverpool know how to get over the line, even when they're not putting in that kind of that professional performance where they keep the opposition under the cosh the whole way through. Even when they do have to rely on luck a little bit at times, they know their way around a football match. They know their way to force things over the line. They wouldn't be in this position otherwise, and rival fans will try and tell you that it's luck, or it's VAR, or it's refereeing, or it's teams rolling over and stuff like that. They can tell you all you want. The fact of the matter is Liverpool have 61 points from a possible 63. That is a record in Europe's top 5 leagues ever. No team in Europe's top 5 leagues has amassed this many points, has amassed 61 points after 21 games. It is also now officially the longest unbeaten run in Liverpool's history. 38 games unbeaten. The last run we had that was nearly that long was 17 games. And that was back in 1894, where football was basically a different sport. You know, it was a different world, a different time. This team is now better than any Liverpool team that's come before it. We kind of have to accept that now. I know they don't quite have the silverware yet to show for it, but my God, they probably will have it by the end of the season, if not sooner. I mean, as it stands, this is going to be wrapped while they're still gritting the roads for snow and stuff like that. This league is going to be done before it's barely even started. You know, when we get to that business end, you know, the title running, it's probably going to be over already. And things can change, obviously. A lot of things could happen. Liverpool could hit a brick wall in terms of form. We could start struggling and whatever, or we could get some injuries. But when the way you see us play and the way you see us overcome adversity, I can't see that happening on any level. I cannot see that happening. When you see the way Liverpool performed today, they weren't at their best. Tottenham were good. Tottenham were well drilled. They couldn't have asked for much more apart from slightly better finishing in this game. But they still came away with nothing, and Liverpool came away with everything. When we're getting through difficult matches like that, away from home as well against a really good side, a Jose Mourinho side, when we're getting through it and not even making it look that difficult, to be perfectly honest, when we're making it look like it's just par for the course, I cannot see how anyone stops this Liverpool team from winning their 19th Premier League title. I mean, surely you must think it's done as well. Let me know down in the comments below whether you think it's done and dusted. We have, of course, got some difficult fixtures coming up. Manchester United, of course, the Wolves game in a week and a half is going to be tough as well. But as it stands, Liverpool putting in yet another, not fantastic performance, not brilliant performance, but just getting the job done, as always, because that is what Jurgen Klopp's boys do. So that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very, very much for watching this video. As always, if you enjoyed it, you know what to do. Hit the like button down there. Hit that subscribe button there if you're new around here. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days as well. Don't forget to follow at LSU Focus TV on Twitter, and I'll be back soon with some pre-match content for that game against United in a week's time. Until then, bye for now.